Right.
We're up to, in the MaMaar, in the discourse, we're up to page Tzadik Zayin. It's the end of chapter 5. And the Rebbe speaks about the need there was for the generation that went into Eretz Yisrael, that at least by the end of the 40 years that they were in the desert, there should be a certain acknowledgement in regards to refining physical objects and bringing in a kedusha, holiness, a certain level of sanctity in these physical objects. So therefore there was a need, the connection with the Be'er, with the well, when they crossed, when it was the Shira that they said in regards to the well was by the end of the 40 years, because the idea of the well is that the water is coming streaming through the ground, and it receives a certain quality by going through the ground. It's called Ma'im Chayim. So therefore, the same thing is also the neshama, by descending into the lower world and dealing with matters in this physical world. So a person brings a shleimus, an elevation to the neshama. So now we go on to chapter 6, which is Amud Tzadik Zayin. This is a MaMaar that the Rebbe said, a discourse in 1975. It was a situation then in Eretz Yisrael, when isn't there? And this was a long MaMaar that the Rebbe edited. It was mamash a Wednesday. There was a Farbrengen, a surprise Farbrengen. It was Erev of the 17th of Tammuz, beginning the 3 weeks. And the Rebbe then began the Farbrengen, mentioning that it's the 16th day of Tammuz and Mashiach didn't arrive yet. And then the Rebbe began speaking a few talks, and then the Rebbe also gave a Hasidic discourse. So we're up to Sivav on Amud Tzadik Zayin, where the Rebbe begins explaining the idea of Golus. The Rebbe connects it with the chapter in Tilim in Psalms 96, which refers to the redemption of the previous Rebbe, whose birthday is on the 12th of Tammuz, his redemption was on 12th of Tammuz. So the Rebbe connects it all together. And the Rebbe discusses very basic inyanim, basic concepts in what the inyan of Golus means. So now we go on to Sivav. So the Rebbe says, V'hinei amiras shira hanal, saying this shira, the song that they sang when the miracle took place, that the two mountains crushed each other and their enemies were crushed in the middle. Bo'al yedei masei b'nei Yisrael, came through the masses, through the trips of the Jews, the Jewish nation, when they went through the desert. It says before that, Mishom naso vayachanu me'ever arnen gemer, that they traveled from a previous place, location, and then vayachanu, they rested, they stopped me'ever arnen, al kein yomar gemer, and therefore al kein yomar mechames Hashem, al kein yomar, that this Muhammad, that was a hidden miracle for the Jewish nation, that there was a certain enemy, a certain country, nation that wanted to destroy them, and put the two mountains hit each other, and the well took out the limbs and everything and showed what miracle took place here. So this was the Be'er, the well was the one that told the Jewish nation the miracle. So the Rebbe says, in the same sense, that the Shira, this song that they said, was after they stopped in an earlier place, and then later they came to this destination, is Vahu B'dugmas Mashaklolus in Teirun Mitzvahs al Yedei Nesiyah Dafke. The general inyan of Teirun Mitzvahs is through the inyan of Nesiyah, through the inyan of a trip. Which this is also connected, and actually, this happened also a month earlier. Tov Shin Lamed Hey, 1975. A few days after Shavuos, the Rebbe spoke a sicha to a group of Yidden that came from England, that they brought the Rebbe then the Cincino Tanya. It's the first time that the Tanya was translated in English as Cincino Press. I'm medayik that Cincino Press, because it was translated already by Dr. Mendel in the 1950s. And here they came from England. It was a very special chashivos, very unique. The Rebbe was very pleased with it and joyful. He was, you can see certain inyanim by the Rebbe which are very unusual. I mean, the Rebbe started to sing the Alter Rebbe's Nigen in the middle of the Farbrengen, Erev Shavuos, to cover this project. So after Shavuos, the Rebbe suddenly notified that he's going to speak on the porch of 770, and he's going to distribute Tanyas to this group from England that came, Rabbi Zalman Yaffe, Rabbi Gorman, a whole group of Chevra. So the Rebbe came out. There was a stender. I mean, today it's already in pictures. I don't know even if there's a video, but I remember it. We was Bochalim, we heard it, and we came out. And the Rebbe was speaking to them. Then the Rebbe gave each one a Tanya. So what was the teich and the contents of one of the inyanim the Rebbe mentioned in the Sikha was the inyan of Nisiya, the Torah mitzvah is connected with a trip. And the Rebbe says, this is mamish the words that Rebbe used. As it says by Matan Torah, Vayera davai al Har Sinai, that the Eibishter, the Lashon is the Eibishter is Harob Gifor, and that was the Lashon the Rebbe used. The Eibishter traveled down on Har Sinai. Vel Meisha Omar Alei al Havaya, and then he told Meisha, it was supposed to be a two-way. So in the same sense that there was one way that the Eibishter traveled, descended, there's the other way that the Yidden elevated. Vel Meisha Omar Alei al Havaya, Hanisiyah Shal Bnei Yisrael. Meisha Rabbeinu representing the Jewish nation, elevating back to Hashem, which this was accomplished by Matan Torah. On one hand, it was a descent. On the other hand, there was also an elevation. Descending, drawing down from a spiritual realms in spheres to this physical world, and taking this physical world and elevating it to a higher level. So this is like the difference also between learning Torah or davening, praying. Learning Torah, a person studies Torah, he takes the godly wisdom and whatever Hashem invested in Torah, and he draws it down into world, into his human mind and into world, in a practical sense. On the other hand, the inyan of Tefillah is an elevation similar to a ladder that a person steps up, step after step, how he goes up, and this is the inyan of Tefillah connecting with godliness. So this is on a daily basis. It starts with prayer, and then it comes to the study of Torah. So in the same sense that it is by Matan Torah, is v'cheinu ba'aveda shel kol echad v'echad miYisrael. The same thing is also in the Aveda of every Yid. Sh'aschalas Aveda hi lech lecha miyartzecha miladitecha mebeis avicha. The beginning of the Aveda is, as it's stated in the beginning of Lech Lecha, and that is that a person has to leave his eretz, his land, his birthplace, and the house of his parents. The going out from his nature and from his pattern and from his roughness. As it is mentioned in the Hemshech, which is the sequence of MaMarim, that the Hasidic discourses that the Rebbe Rashab spoke in 1906, a cheshbon of a sequence of 34 MaMarim, at least week after week, or occasion, but throughout the year, sometimes extending into the next year and also the next year.